Okay, so all I did was bring in this layer that has this picture, scanned it in so I have it for reference. Just going to lock it, double click on it, I can give it a title, just put scan drawing, and I can even dim this down so you've seen that before. Percentage you can place in there and click OK. And then I have a window above it. I've just drawn some shapes, basic shapes, simple color, and just going to do the 3D that bring this part together. So with the shape tool, I'll just bring that part out so that you can see it. So I have a square over to the side, so I'm just going to take this, hold the shift key down, make the square. Depending on what color I make it, it's a fill. And you want to make sure that you do not put a stroke on this 3D modeling part, otherwise it'll crash the program. So under Effect 3D, I have a couple things that we'll use in this case. The extrusion, seen the preview before, so clicking on that. And then in this window, the extrusion depth is at PT, which stands for points. So you have points, which is the measurement for type. Larger than that, 12 is 1 pica, so it gets to that measurement. And you also have the slider here that you can extend this part. And I'm using the slider, but I can also click in here and use the arrow key to create that shape. Now the nice thing is that up in this window it does show you the XYZ coordinate listed right here, and it shows it on a little icon for spinning it and a percentage that you can place into it. And you can also grab this, and they use the RGB so that doesn't hurt. So you can rotate this and you can see the illustration as a wireframe as it draws through that. So it gives you that option, clicking down here to wireframe, so you can kind of see, just as you would do a linear drawing with line, shape, value, color, and texture, it starts off with that section. But plastic shading, the term for plastic is actually three-dimensional modeling. You have all these options to choose from. So from a front view, it's just going to be a square, and same with back, left, front, and top, since it's a piece in itself. And the isometric that we've talked about is bringing up that section, the left or the right, for that piece. Inside this section is also a piece for perspective, so if I want to, I can glue that in. And again, just taking a look at any of the drawings that we're doing where all these lines are either parallel or they taper to a vanishing point is what that part's showing. And then the shading part here, if I click on all these sections, has the light source we've talked about, placing it there so you can kind of see the three values depending on how bright you make it, top, middle, and side. Okay. And again, if I take off the perspective, that'd be in there, but again, a light source can also be behind it, clicking it to that section too. So you can kind of arrange that to help, and if you don't like it, just take it right off. Click OK. If I need to get back in to edit this, you want to go into Appearance panel. Here's the Appearance panel. And here you can change the fill. Obviously you don't want to have a stroke on this part, but that'll give you the coloring that you can change this piece to, so you have the arrangement of the colors in the swatches and also the color choices that you can pick on, so you can kind of get an idea of this one happening here. Okay, so that's in there, and if you want to get back into the modeling of 3D, you just click on the 3D icon and it brings it right back. Okay, so once you understand that, the rest of it is somewhat easy to do. Just kind of go into this next one. This is going to give you a profile. So creating this shape, or looking at this section effect in 3D and revolving this is the section you want to take. So when you hit preview, you can see it's just taking that rectangular shape in the center point axis and just revolving it around. And again, here's the lighting, so I'm just going to click on a light source for that. Okay. Same with this one that's horizontal. It's the same shape, but I'll give it a different color to it and go through the same steps just so you can see it again. So here's the revolve button, and it adjusts to there. and now it's on its side, so I can just twist it. You have to do it within this window, in other words, to set this part up. And again, if you're trying to get 0 for this one, you can just hit the number in there, and it makes it a little bit easier to adjust, and a little bit of the perspective to show that. So it's relatively helpful once you get the hang of this part. So I just set that part right there, click OK. So now I have 2 pieces, and now if you want to, you can actually edit the size of this part that's been rotated on screen, so that makes it a little bit easier. I just can't rotate it as far as a 3D piece. I have to go back into a revolve and do it from this stage, this direction. That sets it up for that one. The cone, I'm going to build the profile up, so I'm just going to hold the Shift key down, come across here, and go up to the top. And again, depending on the color choice that you use, you can have the lighter values into here. And zoom in on it. Do Effect 3D Revolve again. So I've only used Extrude the one time. Click on the preview, and it pretty easily makes that case just to show it to you on the opposite side. Okay, so it kind of highlights this. So just to follow the cast shadow, just place the lighting on this side. Click OK. And that makes it a little bit easier. And when you take a look at, kind of have a rounded end off the side there, so you can click on just this point and round that off a bit, and it'll update it right up onto the monitor. If this has a little bit of a rounded point, be careful of the cap that it'll make. Okay. And we'll do the sphere the next time. You could get away with just drawing a circle. And right now it's just the section that's there. Do Effect 3D Revolve, and when you take a look, you see it's making this cylindrical piece. So we'll come back to that one. So what you need to do is to cut this in half. So hopefully it lines up to that section. Click on both of these, use the Pathfinder tool right here, and just take that off. So that gives you half of a gives you the semicircle to rotate. And here's Revolve. So now it'll take itself around that piece. Now keep in mind you have these other options. Left edge is on this left edge. If you click on it, right edge, you'll come up with a different shape, kind of traps in there. So at least you can see some different options that you might have with that. Just put the highlight on that side. And again, this is a place where you can put a reflected light to get that shadow we've talked about. And then the last one is kind of making a circle with the Shift key. Go Effect 3D, hit Revolve again. And you can see it makes the shape of this donut. Here it is, the left edge, and then it's offset, meaning it's offset from that left edge. And here it is in 0. So it's going right on that edge. And here you just separate it 200, and it kind of gives you a little bit of help with the measuring, at least, to see how long that's going to be. There's that particular part there. So if you ever get lost on this, you can do isometric left for that. And place the highlight up at the top. Okay. Now once you have that section, see if you can align these into a composition. I'm just using the same piece that I have right here. Kind of helping it out there. And go ahead and place in some of the cast shadows that you have. So just like with the pen tool, this is going to give me this particular selection. And depending on the section, in this case I have a gradient that I could use for it. Simple to that. Take the gradient tool, place it onto there, place it behind it, and take a look at the effects and also with the transparency. So here's the transparency window. Make this a little bit smaller. And you also have the effects, if you remember from distort, you can soften the edges. So here's the feather. You can change the edges of it, so it'll give you that piece, and you also have the blur pieces on there. So it'll give you that particular selection. The pen tool for this one. Elliptical shape. It's creating a shape on top of a shape. Turn that through. Selecting it, taking a letter G for the gradient tool. That piece. Take the pen tool. Transparency, take that down. It'll give you a little bit of three-dimensional modeling. We talked a little bit before, but at least I'll give you a little bit more of the feel to it.